times when I feel like I have a lot to say, and there's times like now where I felt like I had a lot to say, and now I don't know. I've been reflecting a lot about a lot. I've been thinking a lot. Because life has been very topsy-turvy. Everything has been very up in the air. I'm sure you're feeling it. Not really sure what to do. I'm not really sure what to do, but I've been called to have a practical plan. It doesn't feel fair. I gotta be honest. It doesn't feel fair to ask someone to have a practical plan at a time where the foundation itself is being destroyed. We're coming back to ground zero. And it's going to take some time. So how do you build something on top of something that is constantly being deteriorated and deconstructed so that something new can be built on top? Or not on top. Using the debris, clearing the debris, using the soil. The resources are still what they are. That's what's funny. Not everything is that, like at the intrinsic level of all of this, nothing changes. It's us that changes. I've been changing a lot, and I think that because of that, I have this familiarity and this sort of comfort in chaos and being all changing always. I just feel like that is inevitable, that we will change. And I think that a large part of the illusion, or at least what I've noticed, a large part of the illusion that we all live in or get caught up in is that, well, it's really hopelessness, but it manifests as the idea that people cannot change, things cannot change, nothing will ever be different. But I think that's because we're so over the novelty of change. Oftentimes we go through these cycles where we get comfortable and we forget, like, what we're looking at always is change. The story of history is change. And it's really a warfare or a kind of arc between change and what is always static. Choosing that word very wisely, intentionally. We live in a world that separates those concepts. And so oftentimes we pick a side based on what we resonate with, right? It's understandable. And this 3D experience duality is like the thing. Can't really like enjoy or like have anything meaningful with this experience without the duality of it. It comes to a point where you just kind of gotta honor that. But you kind of get so caught up in your allegiance and things that exist outside of you that you forget that everything is one thing, that it's all serving the same purpose and goal. And so there will always be the inevitable change, and there will always be the inevitable static, just stillness, because stillness is the bed on which change can occur. And me having walked through that experience, I'm honestly, having lived through enough life and having my eyes open to a way where I really didn't have a choice but to see that with great clarity. I think I've been having a difficult time watching people struggle with the change, especially, and this comes off as something I need to work through, and I completely respect that, but I personally feel like I have, but I just feel like especially the people that I am noticing have a difficult time with the transition of humanity right now. How do I say this? Those are the very people that stoned me in my experience, that I witnessed throw stones at each other virtually, digitally, in real life. I've watched these people. I've seen these very people who were struggling with the change of the current time deny others of their own humanity when they were struggling with the change. That's how. I had my first-hand experiences with those people, and now that I have the opportunity to give grace, it's a no-brainer for me. And the irony is that that is what I'm struggling with. I feel in my humanness, I feel a bit insane for loving beyond the love that was made available to me outside, just outside, because the whole reason I can do what I do is because I literally discovered this within myself. And so I do understand that there's an opportunity for everyone to discover this within themselves. And that does completely quell any outside thirst or desire to have that space held for you in that way. If anything, it amplifies your desire to connect with those who hold that space for themselves in that way. But I'm seeing that people are having a hard time settling their nervous system so that they can see that clearly. I'm struggling with that, despite who it is that's struggling, despite who these people are and how they've shown up in that way. I still hold great grace for them because I understand what it's like to be there. I'm not making a point here. I'm sharing what's on my heart. I'm still very grateful for existing. I'm grateful to be here to witness what is occurring. There's a time when I really believed that I would crumble under the pressure and the weight of this current time. When I saw this coming as a child, I knew what was necessary for us as humans to unlock love at our fullest fullest potential. And the reality is it's not every human being's fault, right? We all point to the powers that be, but in pointing to the powers that be, that also means that we are accepting that we have been, let me say this carefully, made ill in the structure that we have been provided to live our daily lives. And so while we walk back these government structures, while we walk back the approach of the way things are, I cannot help but ask and wonder, are we also walking back our efforts, our expressions within it? Are we reconsidering the ways that we show up in the world? Because if it is changing, we cannot continue to show up the same way. And I'm included in that. I feel a sense of responsibility around holding people accountable for that, including starting with myself. In fact, this is the only reason I'm here and able to share any level of emotional, personal, mental, whatever kind of insight. It doesn't necessarily have to be valuable information or how to, but this is me sharing from my experience and my looking. Maybe this is just a rant about things that matter to some and things that don't matter to others. Maybe I don't matter, so I don't. Honestly, I truly do not. And at the same time, I matter a great deal. You matter a great deal. This world matters quite literally, but also it's important and significant. We don't come to know ourselves without coming here. It is my hope that in this cycle that we're currently in, that we all get to experience each other's eyes open so that we can see each other with clarity and understand how beautiful we are, how beautiful life is, how beautiful our world is, and our responsibility to keep it that way, to hold space for each other so that we can stay beautiful while we're still beautiful. Because that's the other thing that I'm seeing with all of this adversity that is presenting itself in our current reality. We're all actually starting to see the fullness of humanity. Some of it isn't so pretty, and other parts are absolutely heartwarming. And I think that is a significant opportunity. We can acknowledge ourselves. We can acknowledge each other in our fullness, not by some false ideology, not by what we thought it was, not by somebody's social media content, but we're seeing fear, we're seeing love, we're seeing passion, we're seeing anger, we're seeing joy, we're seeing pursuits of self in a way we have not. And I'm 31, so many of those of you who are older may have seen it before. You may have, but this is an unprecedented time. You've never seen anything like this. We get to do it together using the same devices that oppress us, that depress us, that debilitate us. We get to connect. You have to remember that the intention of a lot of these people we call monsters in the tech industry and things like that was simply for us to connect, because even at the most basal level, these are still humans who desire connection. Maybe they don't understand connection, and so they have tainted connection. But those of us who desire connection in its purest form, in its most innocent and intimate form, we use what we've been given exactly as we need it. And I'm forever grateful for that we have this opportunity in this unprecedented time to make whatever out of whatever. We're learning how powerful we are, how beautiful we are, how ugly we are too. But this is an alchemical process. And what is ugly can always be transmuted. And the real question is, does it always need to be?